Welcome back. So in the last video, I did a little quick summary of the relationship between exponents, roots, and logarithms, and I mentioned there's a story between me and a math professor over that that was entertaining. So I'll tell you the story, but just for reference sake, that was what we were discussing. If you have an exponent, say 3 squared is 9, the 3 is the base. It's raised to the exponent. 2 is the exponent. And then the answer to that is power. 9 is the power. And I said that most people have a hard time with that because we use the term or the word power for the exponent as well. And so there's confusion over that whole thing. And when you rearrange these pieces for a square root, the power is the thing that's under the radical symbol, and the exponent is the thing that sits out here if it's written, and then the answer is the base. Now, mathematicians call this thing now the radicand, not the power, and they don't call it the exponent, it's called the index, but it means the same thing. And then when we do logarithms rearrange these things in other pieces so that you have the logarithm of the base, and then the power is the thing that you're doing the logarithm on or taking the logarithm of or something like that. And then the answer is the exponent. And then for years, I didn't know what the word for 9 was. What do you call the answer to an exponent? The answer to an addition question is the sum. The answer to a multiplication question is the product. What do you call the answer to an exponent? Because I need to know the name of the thing because we're going to rearrange it, and I have to be able to correctly identify it with its proper name. And so this became a joke in my math classes for years because we didn't have a name for it. We just called it the thing, and we had to say it with drama. So when you take the thing over there, and it always meant the answer to an exponent. But maybe it was about 2009 or maybe 2010 or so, I got an email that said there's Professor so-and-so from the Great Courses series is shooting a video down in Orlando, and that was where I lived. And you're invited to have a private dinner with him and some other teachers to discuss modern topics in education or something like that. I have no idea how that got forwarded to me. I still don't. And I thought, wow, I know that guy. Like I've watched a couple of his math videos and things like that. And I was like, oh, this is my opportunity to actually get this question answered. I have a question for Dr. Berger, Dr. Edward Berger. And so sure enough, I said, yes, I'll attend. And so at the appointed date and time, I show up in downtown Orlando at this fancy restaurant, and there's maybe 10 of us, maybe a dozen teachers or something like that. Maybe, I don't know, it was a long time ago. But I made a point of sitting right next to him. So I'm sitting immediately on his right, like he's to my left. And we have this dinner, and the dinner was okay or so forth. I'm waiting for the moment. I'm waiting for the moment when he asks, do you have any questions for me? Yes, I do. And so like we ate dinner and there's some small talk and I'm waiting for the question. I don't want to like be rude and interject like, sorry, I have something. I came here to talk about something. Let's cut to the chase. I'm waiting. So finally he's like, oh, does anybody have a question? And I'm immediately on like, yes, actually. So the answer to an addition question is a sum. The answer to a multiplication question is a product. The answer to an exponent question, like, what do you call that? And he's thinking for a moment, and he says, I don't know. And I was like, because when we do logarithms and stuff, we have to rearrange the parts, and like I need to know what the name of that thing is so I can properly identify it with my students. And he's like, I'm embarrassed. Like you'd think it would be so easy, like, but I'm not coming up with any answers or anything like that. And like so I was disappointed. I left the dinner. Rats. Well, if he doesn't know, like maybe there isn't a name or something like that. This is very curious to me. But about a year later, I came across another old textbook. Maybe it was from the 60s or 70s or something like that. And it actually had the term power in there. And it specifically says power. And it said, no, choose the exponent. And I thought, oh my goodness. This is the story of my life. We have to wait now for the clock. And yes, it's 12 o'clock noon on a Saturday. It's going to go for a while. 2, 3, 4, 4, 5. Kudos to you if you did not skip forward in the video, but stayed for the entire bell chime. What time is it? It's time to get back to the story. So anyway, it's like, oh yeah, it's the power. The answer to an exponent is the power. So I'm going to be precise with our language now and not call the exponent the power. So anyway, years go by, and I'm actually at a different school, and school's out at 3 o'clock, and it's about maybe 3:40 or something like that, and I can leave in just a few minutes or so. And I'm checking my email, and I get an email from the curriculum director lady, like my semi boss, and so forth. And it says, if you're still on campus, we have Professor so and so wants to talk to the math department in particular about education and so forth like that. And I'm thinking, oh no. Because this lady would do read receipts on her emails. So if you read her email, it would send her a read receipt that you had read the email. And I read the email. And I thought, oh no, she's going to know I read the email and I have to go now. Rats. I don't want to risk like reading the email and then not showing up. Where are you, Mr. Marsh? You read my email and you still had time to come. Okay, so I go, and most everybody's in there by now. And so the only seat left is around in the front, way on the right-hand side. So I go up and way on the right-hand side. And I'm there right at the last minute. And they introduce this professor. And this professor guy comes walking across the room right in front of me and starts to talk. And I didn't think I knew him. But as soon as he started to speak, I thought, I know this guy. Where do I know this guy from? Have you ever had that? Where you didn't think you knew somebody, but as soon as they started to talk, the manner in which they spoke and their inflections in their face and stuff like that, you're like, oh my goodness, like I know this person. So I pull out my phone. This was after the time that I had gotten a smartphone. So just to place that in my history, if you know, you know. So I go to like put in this, what was this guy's name? I had to go to my email and find the email, and then I had to go to the like Google image search, and I'm Google imaging searching this guy's name, and it's like the professor at the time was like a sharp looking Italian guy, and he was wearing a brown suit, and got the nice head of Italian hair and stuff like that, and I'm like, yeah, okay, where do I know this guy from? And I scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll, and finally I see a picture of this guy from when I knew him, which was when he was doing the teaching company videos, and he had long hair with a ponytail, and he was wearing brightly colored shirts. And I thought, oh no, it's that same guy. And I got really excited. I was like, ooh, I can finish the conversation with him now. And so he had a really good thing to say about education, and I picked up some good stuff from that. So I'm glad I went. But I'm waiting again for him to ask, does anybody have any questions for me? And sure enough, at the end, he's like, okay, so any of you have any questions for me? And ooh, my hand goes up, ooh, me. And he's like, yes. And I had to take a risk. I still wasn't exactly sure, but I had to take a risk. I said, so, this is going to sound strange, but were you here in town about 8 years ago shooting a video for the Great Courses, whatever company, and take some teachers out to dinner and discuss math stuff? And out of the corner of remember, everybody's over here on my left because I'm way over on the right-hand side. I'm in the front row. Out of my peripheral vision, I can see people leaning forward and looking down the aisle at me like, who's that kook asking a question like that? My face is getting red. And Dr. Edward Berger's like, well, yeah, I think so. And I said, oh, good. I was at that dinner and I asked you a question. Do you remember what that question was? And his eyes got really big and he says, yes, that was a very annoying question. And so I said, well, I have an answer. And he says, well, what is it? And I said, The answer to an exponent question is the power. The exponent's not called the power. The proper term is for the answer to the exponent thing. And he's like, oh, yeah, you're right. And then we had a really good talk for about 10 minutes on the importance of vocabulary in math education, that you need to be specific as a teacher in using proper math vocabulary and in training the students to read and understand math vocabulary, because words mean things. Every subject has its own grammar, so to speak, of terms, vocabulary, usage. Are there certain terms that are exclusive to the sciences like chemistry and physics and biology that if you need to know them in order to really understand and communicate about those things? Yes. How about literature? Yes. How about auto mechanics? Is there a grammar of auto mechanics? Yes. Is there a grammar of painting? Yes. What's a fresco? Oh my goodness. I'm not even sure what that is myself. Maybe I misused the term right there. But no, it was really pretty good. And then Dr. Berger and I emailed back and forth for a bit, maybe about another 6 months or so on stuff like that. And he's written a couple good books. Like I've got, where'd it go? Here it is. This little one on the 5 elements of effective thinking is pretty good. I've delved into that. He's got this one, The Heart of Mathematics, an Innovation of Effective Thinking. Maybe that one is like the smaller version of this one. But anyway, I know you've been waiting all this time for me to actually show you a picture. So if you've been patient thus far, let me get my cursor here. You've been patient this far. Oh, yeah, here we go. Here we go. It's this guy. I can't actually find a really good picture of there. That's what he looked like when he was presenting to us. I can't find a picture of what he looked like with the ponytail, except for this little clip right here. This is somebody apparently making memes of him or something like that from the old videos. But that's when I first knew him, at least from the teaching company videos. But anyway, Dr. Berger, if you're watching the video, my sincere thanks for putting up with me all those years of waiting to know what the answer to an exponent question, because words mean things and it's important to have the right vocabulary. So anyway, have a great day.